John, could you, I'd like you to comment on I'd like you to place New York State into perspective in this scheme of this shale gas industry. I mean, are we a bit player, or do we have the potential to be one of the big players? I understand we're just on the periphery of it.
Well, you're talking to somebody that spent a lot of money and a lot of capital drilling holes in New York State, and I agree with the congressman that we have to change the tone of the discussion and focus on fact. But Mr. Quinlan said I have towns that have literally outlawed any future development that I can do. I mean, they're taking a business that's local and kicking us out the door. That's scary. But to answer your question, the opportunity of shale in New York, I think, is huge. Because New York State, whether it's the Utica or the Marcellus or the Rhine Streets or any of the other shales that we've been looking at, there's a tremendous amount of natural gas under the earth, okay? And New York is a huge, huge, huge consumer. 36% of our energy consumption in the state comes from natural gas. That's massive. I mean, what's amazing to me, and I complain to others in our industry, we're our worst enemy, okay? We develop the cheapest supply of energy, and we take the blunt of being the worst people. If you look at a domestic U.S. map of spot natural gas prices, you'll have the state of New York with no high volume hydraulic fracturing, yet it has the lowest spot price. And there's nothing in this industry, we can't, we can't stop the gas at the border. I wish we could. I wish we could do what I did in Avon and just shut them in. Because what would happen immediately is there would be a wake-up call. New York City's pollution has decreased dramatically because of the influx of natural gas. Listen to this. The rate of birth defects, the rate of high school, the actual rate of high school graduation in New York City goes up with a decrease in pollution. The only thing decreasing pollution in New York City now is the influx of natural gas. Yet you have people in New York City saying, we don't want it. I mean, part of what we talk about is education and an understanding. And part of what's lacking in this whole discussion is an open mindset. I mean, people don't understand what energy is. Having spent a lifetime in it, I mean, I see it every day. When my daughter was in high school, or when my daughter was in middle school, actually in grade school, we're walking through one of these do-it-yourself hardware stores. And she's walking behind us, turning the lights on. And we're in the lighting section. I said, Melissa, what are you doing? And she says, well, I'm saving the polar bear. And I said, you're saving? Oh yeah, we're told that all the energy, all the electricity we consume, okay, we're causing global warming and we're killing the polar bear. Now, I'm actually a believer in global warming because we have two choices in this world. Because nothing ever stays even. Either it's going to get colder or it's going to get warmer. So we're probably warming because one thing, there's more of us around. And we give off methane naturally, and there's a lot of CO2 we give out naturally. So there's going to be some change. So I'm not even going to argue that point. But the issue I have is the discussion that there's a group out there that forgot about what this country was built on. The idea of, the freedom and opportunity we can develop. These guys are talking about educating people to work, okay, for good money. And we have others that say we can't do it. I look at everything out there, whether it's water pollution or methane in water or leaking casing or bad cement. I look at it and say, wow, another job opportunity. A great place to do something. That's what we got. That's the message we got to get. That's the message that's missing. Everybody looks at it and says, you're gonna pollute, so don't do it. Well, if we would have said that 100 years ago, we probably wouldn't be here. We'd have never developed the engine. We would have never developed the cars. Nothing would have been around. What we have to look at is this concept that this is the transition to making it better. And there'll be issues, and there'll be problems. But that's what America's great, fixing all that. The congressman talked about, you know, we're just a little bit ahead of the rest of the world in this technology. Energy technology is the one technology that the United States exceeds everybody else. I mean, when we go, I graduated from Penn State in the 80s, a third of my class went to work in Saudi Arabia. They were paying a lot more money than everybody else. Maybe I should have went there, I probably did a lot better. But the thing is, I mean, they look to the United States as the key technology developer for energy. I mean, we developed the solar, I mean, I can get on everything, from solar to wind to everything else. The technologies are basically developed here. The Chinese can build a solar panel cheaper, but they didn't develop the technology. I mean, we basically, we the educators, develop, we do what's done that takes it to the next level. That's the story that has to be sold. That's what's going to change the outlook of what people see.
So, if I can interrupt, I'm sorry.
I don't disagree with anything you've said. The only problem is you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
I'd like you to put New York State, is the gas under our feet?
Yeah.
It's there. Is it there, I mean, is it there like it is in Pennsylvania?
From a natural gas perspective,
For the industry, for the shale gas industry that we're talking about.
no. No, because the difference that you have between New York and Pennsylvania, New York is predominantly going to be a gas development play. One resource, it's going to be dry natural gas from border to border. Okay, from Ohio and Pennsylvania edge the whole way over to, you know, Vermont. The Pennsylvania has the luxury of being down dip in the majority of the shale plays. They ended up being in an area that as you move west in the state, some of the plays end up being partially liquid, partially gas. So the development opportunities in Pennsylvania are different. Okay? So from a resource recovery, you can have people developing in Pennsylvania that don't even care if they have a market because they can move it around quicker. In Pennsylvania or New York, what I'm saying is why I see the opportunity. Maybe not necessarily in volume of resource, but in value of resource. New York needs the natural gas already. New York is basically the consumer. When you put the raw material in the backyard of the user, you get a match that's made in heaven. And that's what New York has they don't see. If New York would promote the development of natural gas, it would be, it's just unbelievable what can happen.
Carl, what we could do, we have a bunch of different material and information on what John is talking about from the caucus itself. There are different types of natural gas that come out, wet gas, dry gas,
Yeah, I understand.
and that wet gas phenomenon, which is now more in the West Virginia. That's why the Pittsburgh cracker, it's a $1 billion factory that Shell is investing in outside of Pittsburgh. That primarily is taking the wet gas and breaking it up and using the byproducts of that process to get into consumer products, it's about an 8-to-1 value-added proposition. For every dollar of wet gas produced, you get about $8 worth of final product that's developed coming out of it. So that's what John's referring to. And we got a whole slew of information.
I guess what I was getting at is that I think eventually this is going to break loose. The fringe on the other side is going to end up running out of things to throw up for roadblocks. But it's going to take people in your level of government and my level of government to keep plugging away at it. And I guess what I was asking, is it worth it for us to continue plugging away to remove those roadblocks?
Yeah, definitely. Mother Nature has given the resources there, be it the Marcellus and Utica. And the potential of that resource is significant. And I think it's a resource that continue to push forward.
Let me make one quick comment, because when you talk about the value, you know, I use the example of U.S. Gypsum Corporation.
Of what?
U.S. Gypsum Corp. They make wallboard. Used to make
Oh,
wallboard.
yeah, gypsum,
and-
okay.
Okay. Well, U.S. Gypsum back in 1972 decided they wanted to find their own natural gas supply because they were running out of natural gas. They started drilling their own wells, shallow Medina wells. I mean, these are marginal wells at best. Marginal to somebody investing trying to sell a commodity, but somebody who was turning that commodity into wallboard, it was a completely different. And it goes to Paul's example of you had U.S. Gypsum drilled their own wells, ended up building a cogen facility. Now, it was the cheapest manufacturing facility for U.S. Gypsum to make wallboard in the United States. Okay, a little podunk place in New York with high taxes, high labor costs, lousy transportation logistics, but it was the cheapest. Kept it alive beyond when they closed the facility down that did the mining. Okay, then what happens is, since they can't mine the gypsum there anymore, they still make the paper, because now they have this infrastructure that was developed with the cogen plant to make the wallboard paper. They're still alive. They kept jobs there for, I mean, we're talking decades now.
That's an
Only
excellent
because
point,
they
Bob.
thought ahead.
I mean, that's Paul's point about the
Right,
manufacturing.
okay. I'm coming out of this with just a little better understanding now. where-
It doesn't, what, I guess the key of what I want to make is, it's not the volume of what's under the ground.
All right.
It's
Finally
what you
getting
do
to
with it.
the thick salt.
Right.
All right, I guess we'll take a little break here.
5-minute break and then come back and continue on.